Good morning, students. In cost accounting, now we are going to prepare simple process account. In process account, we are going to prepare the simple process account. Illustration sum number 8, loss in weight, scrap, etc. Vegetable oil refined. Okay, let's read the question. The following details are extracted from the cost record of biology oil mill for the year ended 31st March 2010. Purchases of 500 tons of copra for rupees 2 lakh rupees. Okay, so in biology oil mill produces copra oil, that means coconut oil. Okay, the input item is 500 tons and the cost of the material, copra material, is 2 lakh rupees. Okay, so apart from that, they have given the additional information for three process. So in biology oil mill produces the coconut oil through three processes. What are they? Crushing, refining and finishing. Each process they include the input items and the cost accordingly: cost of labor, electric power, sundry materials, steam, repairs of machinery, factory expenses. Okay, so apart from that, they have given the additional information. It's cost of a cask rupees 7,500. What is meant by cost of cask? Cost of cask means after, at the end of the finished product, the oil is ready for marketing, for sold. Okay, how can they selling the oil after filling the oil into the container only or bottles? Okay, then only they can marketing that oil. Okay, finished oil. So for that, the cost of a cask means oil container. Okay, the cost of the oil container amount is 7,500. It will be entered on finished process account. Okay, why? Because at the end of the finished oil only you can fill the oil into the container. Okay, then only you are going to purchase the cask, which means container, oil filling container. Its amount is 7,500. So it will be appears on finished process account. Okay, let's come to another information. Read the another information. 300 tons of crude oil were produced. 250 tons of oil were produced by the finishing process. 248 tons of refined oil were finished for delivery. Copra also sold for 400 rupees. 175 ton of copra residue sold for rupees 11,000. Loss in weight in crushing 25 tons and 45 tons of byproduct obtained from the refining process rupees 6,750. Apart from that, they have given the additional information, that is, you are required to show the account in respect of each of the following stages of manufacturing of the purpose of arriving at the cost per ton of each process and the total per ton of the finished oil. Okay, so from the given information, they are asked us to prepare copra crushing process, refining process and finishing process including casting. So in each process we need to prepare cost per ton. So at the end of the finished product, finished process account, we need to find out the total per ton. Okay, let's start the first process, that is copra crushing process account. Okay, so we always started with the input unit. Okay, so what is the input unit for biology oil mill? 500 tons of copra. So biology oil mill purchases 500 tons of copra, means coconut copra. Okay, so purchases always appears on debtor side. Okay, now we are preparing the copra account. Okay, copra crushing process. So that 500 tons of copra will appear as the input on debtor side. How much rupees? The cost of the 500 tons of copra is 2 lakh rupees. Okay, so the 2 lakh rupees enter into the amount column and 500 tons enter into the tons column. Against this, you are going to write 2 copra used, enter. Then what are the cost related to crushing copra we are going to enter into the debtor side. So the input cost of the crushing copra is labor cost 2,500, electric power 600, sundry material 100, steam 600, repairs of machinery 280, factory expenses 1320. So these and all input cost is to be entered on the return side of the copra crushing account. So accordingly we entered all what I did enter here. Okay, so next we need to find out the total. So the total ton is 500 tons entered. Then summing up all the input cost after added, you will get the total input cost of copra crushing process is 2,05,400 rupees. The same total is to be entered on creditor side as we consider as the total. So 500 tons and 2,05,400 rupees entered on debtor and creditor side as the total. Okay. Then let's come to the question. Listen what they given here. Listen the question carefully. Loss in weight in crushing 25 tons. Crushing means now we are preparing the copra crushing process, right? So the loss in weight of crushing 25 tons will appear on credit side of the copra crushing process. Okay. So how can you find out? They give the clear to crushing. Okay, loss in weight in crushing 25 tons. So that crushing belongings to copra crushing process. Okay. Okay, do you understand? So the crushing related to copra crushing process account. So for that loss in weight of in crushing 25 tons we enter on credit side of the copra crushing process. Let's look at the question again. Listen. The copra socks sold for 400. So listen, copra socks belongings to copra crushing process account. Which account copra socks belongings? Copra socks belonging to copra crushing process account, because we have the clue copra belongings. So we have three process. We need to prepare the three process: crushing process, refining process, and finished process account, right? So among these three process, now we are preparing the copra crushing process, right? Now we are preparing the first process account is copra crushing process. So let's see the question. The copra socks sold belongings to copra crushing process, because we have the clue for the word copra. Okay, it belongs to copra crushing process. Then the sold, what is meant by sold? The sold is entered on credit side of the copra crushing process, because purchases we enter on debtor side, all the purchases and input item, and the sold, when you sold the selling the product, you will get the revenue and the income, right? So the income and revenue is to be entered on credit side. So accordingly, the copra socks sold 400 rupees is entered on credit side of the copra crushing process account. Okay. So accordingly, we entered by sale of copra socks 400 rupees enter on amount column. The loss in weight in crushing also enter on credit side of the ton column. Okay. Let's come to question. Look at the question here. "175 tons of copra residue sold for rupees 11,000 rupees. Okay, look at this point. This is copra residue sold. So which word is clue here? Copra. Okay. So now we are preparing the copra crushing process account. So this copra belongings to copra crushing process account. Okay. Then copra residue sold for 11,000 rupees. So sold is whenever you see the sold, that means selling. They selling, Balaji oil mill selling 175 tons of copra residue at rupees 11,000. So when you sold the goods, you will receive the cash, right? Income, revenue. So for that, this item will be appear on credit side of the copra crushing process account. Okay. So accordingly, Based on that, on credit side of the copra crushing process account, we are going to write by sale of copra residue 175 tons and 11,000 rupees entered. Okay, let's come to question. Look at the question carefully. Listen. 300 tons of crude oil were produced. Which accounts it's belonging to? So crude oil belongs to copra crushing process. So at the end of the crushing process, the output ton is 300 tons output produced. Crude oil were produced means at the end of the crushing copra crushing process account, they produces 300 tons of crude oil, which means it's considered as output. Okay, so for that you are going to write on credit side. Listen, input value always appear on debtor side, then output value and output tons or unit or kilograms will be appear on creditor side. So accordingly, on the basis of that format, 300 tons refining, again this value you are going to write. This is called 300 tons were produced as crude oil. Okay, so that 300 tons we called as what? Output. Okay, at the end of the copra crushing process, you get the output ton is 300 tons. Okay, so whenever you get the output, that output will be transferred to the next process. What is the next process? Refining process is the next process. Okay, so for that you are going to write by against this 300 tons by refining process account. Okay, okay, now we are going to prepare cost per ton. Okay, how can you find out the cost per ton? We have the format to find out the cost per ton. Okay, so listen, look at here, the cost per ton, we have the format. Total cost in numerator we take, let's take the numerator, the total cost. What is the total cost? We have 2,05,400 rupees entered, minus sale of stocks and copra residue. So how much sale of stocks we have? 400 rupees plus residue value is 11,000. After added you will get 11,400 rupees. Okay, then we need to subtract total cost minus 11,000, total cost 2,05,400 minus 11,400. You get the value is different value. Difference between these two values, you will get the value is 1,94,000 rupees. So the output value of the copra crushing process account is 1,94,000 rupees. Okay, this is called output value. Let's find out output tons. Okay, so what is the total ton? Let's see the denominator. The copra ton, total copra ton is 500 rupees entered, minus loss in weight. How much loss in weight we have? 25 tons entered, plus what is the copra sales residue? 175 tons. So 25 tons plus 170 tons added together, you will get 200 tons, right? So now we subtracted the 200 tons from 500 tons, total tons, you will get 300 tons. Okay, so now we find out the output tons and output value. That is 300 tons and 1,94,000 rupees output. Okay, the same value, again this value you are going to write by refining process account. It will be transferred to the next account. That means finish. This output will be transferred to the next account, that is a refining process account. So for that, at the end of the copra crushing process account, you are going to write refining process account. Okay, now we need to find out cost per unit or cost per ton. How can you find out the cost per ton? We have the format to find out the cost per ton, that is output value divided by output ton. The output value we have 1,94,000 divided by the output ton is 300. After divided, you will get the cost of the cost per ton is 646 rupees 67 paise. Okay, let's come to next process. The next process heading is refining process account. Let's take the refining process account. The first account you are going to enter into the refining process account, that is in previous output of the previous process transfer to the next process, that is refining process account. Okay, so 300 tons and 1,94,000 rupees is to be transferred from the previous process into the current process as the input. So the input value of the refining process is 300 tons and 1,94,000 rupees. Against this value you are going to write to Cobra process account, because these two values is to be transferred from Cobra process account. So for that, you against this value are going to write Cobra process account. Okay, then let's come to the question. Let's take the question. What are the items, input items we have? What are the input cost belongs to refining process is to be entered on refining process account, which means cost of the labor, the electric power, sundry materials, steam, repairs of machinery, and factory expenses. These and all input cost is to be entered on refining process account on debtor side. Okay, so accordingly we entering all the input items and the input values entered on debtor side of the refining process account. Then we need to find out the total of refining process account. So total ton is 300 tons. After summing up all the costs, you will get 1,98,800 rupees total. Okay, the same total is to be entered on the creditor side as the considered as the total. Okay, so after you enter the total, let's come to the question. Listen, look at the question. In last line, 45 tons of byproduct obtained from the refining process. We have the clue here. Listen, which account we are preparing refining process account. Okay, so here 45 tons of byproduct obtained from refining process at rupees 6,750 rupees, which means 45 tons of byproduct getting from refining process will be sold at 6,750. Okay, so whenever you sales, it will be entered on creditor side, right? So accordingly, so look at here, the sale of byproduct is 45 tons at the rate of 6,750 entered on refining process account. Okay, so because the sale of a byproduct belonging to refining process account, they clearly given in the question. Okay, the sale of a byproduct 45 tons at rupees 6,750 belonging to which process? Refining process account. So it will be entered on, it is to be entered on refining process account. Okay, then let's come to listen, look at here. In question, 250 tons of oil were produced by the refining process. So at the end of the refining process, they produces the oil. Okay, refining oil. How much tons? 250 tons were produced. So at the end of the refining process, the output we get 250 tons of refining oil. So the output of oil is to be entered on creditor side. Input oil enter on input tons enter on debtor side. So same format, the output will be entered on creditor side. So accordingly, 250 tons of finished oil, refining oil, be entered on creditor side. Against this value, you are going to write by finished product process account, because 250 tons produced, refining oil produced means output. Okay, so the output will be transferred to the next process. Which process account for is next to the finished product? Refining process. Okay, which process is the next process from refining process? Finished product. Okay, so for that, again this 250 tons of oil, finished oil, you are going to write refining oil, you are going to write by finishing process account. Okay, now we need to find out cost per cost per unit. Okay, so what is the format to find out the cost per unit? We have the format to find out the cost per ton for refining process. Total cost, what total cost minus sale of byproduct. So what is the total cost? 1,98,800 subtracted with sale of byproduct value is 6,750. Okay, now we are subtracted these two values. 6,750 subtracted from 1,98,800, you will get the output value is 1,92,050 rupees. Okay, so let's come to the format. Okay, so in denominator we are going to enter input tons. How much input tons? We have 300 tons. Sub minus loss in weight and byproduct together we add together. So loss in weight we have 5 tons and byproduct we have 45 tons. So add together you got 50 tons. So that 50 tons is subtracted from the 300, you will get 250 tons. So the 250 tons of oil were produced. Okay. So that we have 250 tons of oils were produced. Already we have this 250 tons of oil produced in question. Okay, we taken this value from the question. So again this output we are going to write finished product account. Now we are going to find out cost per ton. How can you find out the cost per ton? Total output value. Listen. Total output value divided by 250 tons. That means output tons. After divided, you will get the cost per ton is rupees 768 rupees 20 paise. Okay. So at the end of the refining process account, you have the output ton is 250, output value is 1,92,050, and the cost per ton is 768 rupees 20 paise. Okay. Let's prepare finishing process including casting account. Okay, in finishing, whenever you start the next account, you have transfer the previous process output consider as the input of current process. Okay, what is the output we have in previous process, which means refining process 250 tons and 1,92,050 rupees output. It is taken from, it is transferred taken from the previous process, refining process, and enter into finishing process. Okay, so against this value you are going to write to finish refining process, because these two value, this two output is taken from the refining process. Now it's considered as the input value, not it's called as output value. Now in this process we called it as the input value. Okay, so let's come to question. After enter the input value taken from the output of a refining process, we need to enter what are the input costs we have related to finishing product is to be entered on data side, which means cost of labor 1,500, electric power 240, and steam 450, and repairs of a machinery 140, factory expenses 220 rupees. This to be entered on debtor side of the finishing product. Okay, so with that cost we need to add the cost of the cast rupees 7,500, because I already explained you what is meant by cost of cast. After refining the product, a finished product, you need to fill up the oil into the container. Okay, so that container called as cask. The container, oil container, the purchases cost of the oil container is 7,500 is to be entered on finished product. Okay, so now we add up all the cost and the units. We have 250 tons, and summing up all the cost at the end of the finished process, input cost, all the input cost is 2,02,100. the same value is to be entered on creditor side as the considered as the total cost. Okay, let's come to the question. Listen, at the end of the finished product, 248 tons of refined oil were finished for delivery. So, how much oil was finished for delivery? 248 tons of refined oil were finished for delivery, which means this is called output. Okay, the output ton is 248 tons ready to delivery at the end of the finished product. Okay, so you are going to enter 248 tons. Okay, against this value you are going to write by finished stock. Okay, that finished stock at the end of the finished product we have 248 tons. Okay, we entered. Now we are going to find out differences. Okay, so we have the total ton is 250 tons, input ton value is 250 tons, it will be subtracted with 248 tons finished stock, remaining balancing figure is 2 tons. Okay, the 2 tons is called as loss in weight. Okay, there is no any scrap or sold on creditor side, so the same total is to be entered on creditor side as the balancing figure 2,02,100 rupees. Okay, so the output value of the finished process account is 248 tons and 2,02,100 rupees. So against this value you are going to write by finished stock account. Okay, now we need to find out cost per ton. Okay, so we have the format to find out the cost per ton. Total output value divided by total output tons. Okay, so 2,02,100 is to be divided by 248 tons. You will get the cost per ton value is rupees 814 rupees 92 paise. At the end of the finished product, finishing process including casting account, we have the output value 2,02,100. The output ton is 248. The cost per ton is 814 rupees 92 paise. Okay, do you have any doubt? Please comment into the comment box. Thank you. Take care.